will be about respiratory involvement and management in limb-girdle muscular dystrophy R9 by Robert Muni-Lofra. Robert is a physiotherapist as well, working with us in Newcastle, and I'll hand over to Robert.
Thank you very much, Volker. As Volker said, I work in Newcastle in the highly specialized service for limb-girdle for the UK. And I would like to think, and I definitely think it's the case, that the amount of international clinicians that Newcastle, puts together is proof of what a great place is to work in neuromuscular conditions in the John Walton. But I do promise we do have some British clinicians as well working with us. So I've got the task to talk about the respiratory involvement and management. And I would like to share with all of you a bit the evidence or what we know in black and white about FKRP or limb-girdle R9, about the respiratory involvement, a bit what to do. And I will ask also Melanie to join me for the end of the talk to share a bit her experience, because as clinicians we try to put evidence together and recommendations, but each one of you is different from the rest, and tailoring the care management in any aspect of your lives is the most important part of it. So we have a reference, and that's what we try to put together here, but tailoring the care to each one of you is very important. So what do we know? So in this graphic you see the most common forms of limb-girdle. We've got dysphalanopathy, ANO5, FKRP, sarcoglycan, and calpain. And in red, you do see the expected progression of the respiratory function in FKRP. And we do see that the progression over the years, so on your left and your axis, you see your breathing capacity and how this deteriorates over time. So it's obvious from this graphic that we are talking about, let's say, a steeper decline of respiratory function if we compare R9 with other forms of limb-girdle. This is only to say that this is an important part of your care management, and we should pay attention to this, right from the beginning. What else do we know? We do know that having a specific genetic mutation, we talk about the homozygous or heterozygous, so having the heterozygous form might lead to a more severe involvement of the respiratory function. In this graphic, we see the dotted lines is how we're expecting to progress, or the probabilities of having the need of using a wheelchair, a respirator, a ventilator, or having cardiomyopathy for the homozygous form, and in a continuous line, the heterozygous form. So the earlier or the lower we go, is the earlier that we're expecting this event to happen in the R9 population. So we do know the respiratory involvement is part of it. We do know that depending on the genetics that cause your condition in yourself, we might have a slightly different progression. What else do we know? We do know that with respiratory involvement, one of the problems might be having difficulties clearing secretions. This might happen later on, and these are again, a similar graphic. This is an image from the paper that we published and was adapted in the SPIC, the limb-girdle magazine from the SPIC Foundation. Again, in red, you'll see that the progression of the peak of flow, and the dotted line is where we consider that the capacity to produce an effective cough is compromised. So going below that line is when potentially we will have some issues in the case of respiratory involvement. So respiratory involvement is part of it. Genetics is part, can tell us that there's a slight difference in the trajectory. Clearing your secretions is part. So what can we do, and how can we monitor this? So a key aspect is to monitor your breathing function, and we would encourage this to be done at least once a year, and as soon as any problems are detected, to happen every 6 months. And what are the symptoms? What we should be looking at? Any accumulated fatigue, headaches, especially if they are consistently in the morning, having difficulties to concentrate, having difficulties to perform at school, at work, having memory changes, experience shortness of breath and acute weakness, snoring at night, or feeling that you wake up gasping for air, having chest infections that lead to an admission. All of these are signs that your breathing capacity might be in a bit of trouble. As you can see, many of these can be caused by many other things. You can feel tired, you can have a morning headache, or headaches for any other reasons. But if this happens in a regular basis, please do get in touch with your clinicians of reference, because we might need to do something about it. And this is my next slide. So, what should we do? What can we do to prevent or optimize your breathing function, but also when we are in trouble, what are the resources that we have available? The first and most important one is to stay active. We've heard amazing examples this morning about how sports can bring joy and enjoyment to your life, but they also have clear benefits for maintain your breathing and many other body functions. So stay active is very, very, very important. This applies for everybody, so you can tell everybody about this, but having your condition makes it especially important. Staying active and playing the wheelchair, the powered wheelchair sport is an amazing way to challenge a bit your breath, get a bit out of breath, try to get that ball, try to go here, quick spin. All of these, they're really great stimulus for many aspects, but also to challenge a bit your breathing. There are specific breathing exercises that might help in preserving your lung function, but these might be more relevant, and you have to discuss it with your reference clinician when you start having some difficulties. If this is not enough, the next step is to introduce non-invasive ventilation. As I said before, one of the symptoms that you can experience with breathing difficulties is fatigue. And what I often say to our patients is that you're not going to wake up one morning thinking, well, I definitely need my NIV, I definitely need my respiratory help today as in comparison to yesterday. It will be a gradual process. And I often use the analogy of your mobile phone, that when your phone is brand new, the battery lasts the whole day, isn't it? You can be browsing in your social media all day, and as time goes by, the battery of your phone lasts less and less, and you feel like, oh, I should limit this because my phone runs out of battery. Breathing is a bit the same. If your breathing is not as effective, it's not profound as it should be, especially when you rest at night, your lungs and your overall fatigue might be building up, and you will feel like your lungs are running out of battery, and you start reducing the amount of activities that you do because you feel tired. Introducing an IV is often a very good way to get a new battery for your phone to extend or reduce the fatigue that you accumulate because of the underbreathing overnight. Another intervention is the cough augmentation, and this is not only, it's mainly for secretion management. There are many techniques that can be used, manual assistance, the long bottom recruitment bag, but also mechanical aids that can be used to manage your secretions. And this is also can be a very good exercise to stretch your lungs in the morning, and in the afternoon we'll have the physio sessions, and Melanie and others have commented that they are more than happy to share their experiences. So if anybody's keen to see how these techniques work and how can we do it, they might look, or you might think that they are a bit scary, but it's something very, very straightforward, and once you get comfortable with it, is a very useful tool to use. So this was a bit what I wanted to share with you, what we know about the condition and what can be done to handle it. But as I said, and the most important part of it is make this process your own process and make it as tailored to your needs as you can. So for this, I wanted to ask Melanie if you wouldn't mind to join me on the stage, as I was about to say, but not really stage. And we were chatting yesterday, and I'll go around this way. We were chatting yesterday, and I think Melanie's is a very good story because is it fair to say that it's not a perfect story? Not everything worked perfectly right from the beginning, and that is often the case for many reasons. But I would say that this is definitely a successful story of having a successful introduction of ventilation. So I wanted to ask you to tell us, if you don't mind, to share a bit what was your journey right from the beginning. So when were you diagnosed and when you started using your your powered wheelchair?
Yeah. So I was 1 year old when my mom noticed that something was really wrong with me because I couldn't walk on 4 feet when I was a baby, and I also could never run. And so when I was 4 years old, at that time I still lived in Germany, I was diagnosed with an, at that time, unknown type of muscular dystrophy. And I got my first wheelchair when I was 6 years old, but at first, of course, I hated it. I never used it. I always tried and maxed out my physical capacities as a child. But I did all kinds of sports, at least I tried. And so when I was like, I would say 14 or 15 years old, that's when I really experienced that I got weaker, that I had trouble walking. And so when I was around 17 to 18, that's when I really started using the wheelchair more and more often, like when I went into the city to go shopping or even to go in bars or going out at night. I felt safer using my manual wheelchair. Of course, somebody had to take it out of the car and put me in and help to get back up. And so, yeah, exactly. So I transitioned very slowly into my wheelchair. And when I was around 24 years old, that's when I definitely completely lost the ability to walk. And so I got my first power wheelchair. And yeah.
Okay, and what about the ventilation? So I believe through this journey you already feel there were some difficulties with your breathing, and when did you start with the ventilation?
So it was right at the same time. So when I was 24 years old, I was first introduced to non-invasive ventilation for the night. This was also introduced in Germany. At that time, I just got a small BiPAP machine with settings that the clinician thought would be good. But I had lots and lots of trouble accepting the machine because it gave me so much bloating. I had trouble getting rid of the gas that got into my stomach. It hurts. I was in much pain, and so I decided that I don't really need the machine. I slept with it maybe between, let's say, 30 minutes a night and 3 hours a night, but I really couldn't tolerate more. And then my follow-up was transitioned to France, and I would say it was just before COVID, so 2020, when I really got more and more tired throughout the day. I also started having trouble concentrating. I would easily fall asleep during daytime, and all those symptoms got more and more over months. And it was in 2022 when I met with my neurologist, when we saw that in 8 months' time, I've lost 12 kilos. And funnily or astonishingly, I didn't really notice that because I really felt that my brain always was foggy. I really didn't feel like myself at that time. And the symptoms got so bad that when I just would recline a little bit in my wheelchair, I closed my eyes and I wouldn't wake up anymore. So that's also when I developed lots and lots of digestive issues. I couldn't eat anymore. The portions got very small that I was able to eat. And that's when I was checked out if I might have cancer, for example. I had to go through lots and lots of exams, and eventually no clinician really had an idea what was going on with me. And that's when I decided to contact my pneumologist, by email, and I wrote my symptoms. I told him my symptoms, and that's when I got a call from him saying I need to come to the hospital right now. And I was hospitalized for about 9 days. And he changed my ventilatory setup. I got a real ventilator with lots of different modes of breathing patterns. You can adapt all kinds of settings and adjust them to the patient's needs. And this clinician who's leading the urology department in Monaco Hospital in south of France, he luckily has had experience in treating NMD patients for 30 years. So he really listened to me when I said the machine is breathing too fast or giving too many breaths, or also I don't have enough time to really inflate my lungs, that he would just adjust the settings accordingly. And this really helped to finally accept the machine and also to relieve all my symptoms. And we found out when I was in hospital that I had so high daytime CO2 that I would have fallen into a coma. And I really think today that my NIV ventilation saves my life, is still saving my life.
So I think there's a few learning points here. It's always a gradual process. It can always be mistaken by something else going on, because the symptoms can overlap with many other reasons and headaches, but there's clear red flags in terms of weight loss, in terms of consistent daytime sleepiness, etc. But at the beginning, there's always a doubt, so always keep this in the back of your mind. And I always say the same thing. If you go and get a pair of shoes and they don't work for you, you don't spend the rest of your life bare feet. If you get the ventilator and it doesn't work for you, don't give up on ventilation. There are adaptations, there are other machines, there are other prescriptions. There's constantly a market that is developing that can suit your needs, different masks, different interfaces. There's different things that can be adapted to you. Don't give up on the intervention because you think is not for you, because really what Melanie was explaining has saved their life in the sense that bring, I think it's fair to say, has bring back life to your lifestyle is exactly what we're expecting here. And is it fair to say that fatigue is much more manageable? You have more independence to interact with the activities that you like doing. This is exactly what we want as clinicians: get the best quality of life to our patients, and interventions like the ventilations. Can I ask you about the cough assist? Do you have a cough assist?
Yes, I have a cough assist. I've been using the cough assist since a very long time, I would say 8 years. I used it even before having the need for, nighttime ventilation. And I use it on a daily basis, so really to stretch and just to exercise. And also, of course, when I'm sick, but then I use it like 10 to 50 times a day if necessary.
So for both, for ventilation and cough assist, we really, really want to implement this when you are well. It's not the right time or the right place to implement these interventions when you're unwell. If it has to be this way, and it happens at times, and it happened to Melanie, and it will happen to other people, because there are many things that can trigger a respiratory infection, but we really want to implement these interventions when you're well. So you adapt to it, you have time to give feedback. I feel more comfortable like this, like that. When you're really in an acute setting, it's very difficult to give your input, and things happen, and will, and will continue to happen because there are many reasons that are out of control, but we really want to be proactive and implement this. So keep that in the back of your mind. And I think that you have, yeah?
Yeah, I'd like to add something. My friend Nina Hofbad here, she's sitting right in the middle behind. She's also ventilated. She's a patient advocate. She really advocates for respiratory needs of patients in Germany. So she's German if anyone wants to talk to her. She has almost the same experience as I have. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So this afternoon we've got the physio sessions, and we'll have time to show and share experiences, but of course the breakdown. And thank you very much, Melanie, for your time and your attention. Thank you.